With me now is Patti Dickinson, our author today. She's here to talk about Coach Tommy Thompson and the boys of Sequoia. Patti is a native Oklahoman of Cherokee ancestry, but like many Okies, she now lives in California. And Patti, what gave you the idea to write about Coach Thompson?
The story came to me from Tommy Thompson's granddaughter. She heard me talking about in a National Public Radio interview for my previous book about an Oklahoma cowboy. She heard me say that I need heroes in my life, not overpaid athletes, but real people who make a difference. She tracked me down by telephone, called me up and said, "I think you want to know about my grandfather." So she launched me on this journey.
Apparently it was a very long journey.
It was. I would call it over 8 years on and off. Not solid 8 years, but 8 years of research, writing, and guiding it through the publishing process.
Now, when you first started on this, you were in Nebraska, which I believe made it a little bit difficult to do first-hand research in Oklahoma.
Right. No, I wasn't in Nebraska.
Oh,
that was
sorry.
that was another book about another cowboy. But I was living in Idaho at that time.
Okay.
Trying to write a story that was the heart of which was 1,500 miles away. But what made it possible was, I would say, frequent flyer miles, a long-distance calling plan, and a go-to guy who was half Seminole, a student, former student at Sequoia.
Now, this is a book, when I first looked at it, I thought, well, this is going to be a biography, but it's really, that's only half of the story, because you did so many interviews with boys that were coached by Coach Thompson that it turns out to be a story about a whole generation.
Right. I thought at first, when I first heard the story, it sounded good. I would write a biography about her grandfather. And then I met all of the boys, quote, boys. They were grandfathers when I met them. And then I realized he was a hero because of his impact. That he had, the positive impact that he had on all these little boys. And then one of the boys took me to Sequoia and showed me around and told me all these stories and history. And I realized that he wasn't just showing me the campus where he went to school, he was showing me, sharing his home. And then I realized I had the full story. Tommy Thompson, the boys, and the school. A lot harder, but at least the real picture.
Now, in fact, Coach Thompson went to Sequoia School. He graduated from there and then came back as the football coach.
He did. He did. He was dropped off there rather unceremoniously by his father, and who abandoned him. And I think that had a very distinct impression on him that kind of made him the loving, caring man that he became to his boys.
And Sequoia School, it's an Indian school. We've heard all sorts of bad stories about Indian schools, but this one was a little bit different, wasn't it?
This one was actually founded by the Cherokees in 1872, shortly after the Civil War. And the Cherokees had a different mission, of course. They wanted to educate and take care of their own. The school is, the same school is still in existence. I guess that's 130 some years now. And it is an all-Indian high school now. But they were, even when it was a government-run boarding school by the Bureau of Indian Affairs, it was a school that did it right. And a great deal of that was because of the superintendent, Jack Brown. And I got all of my information, you know, my research about him from his daughter, Marion Hagerstrand, who's in her 80s now, sharp as all get out and willing to share stories of her father.
So this is really, as I said earlier, a story of a whole generation of people who went on to become leaders because they had a great coach showing them how.
You know, I traced the lives of about 19 boys in the book, and of those 19, 12 of them went on to have college degrees, most of them master's degrees. 5 or 6 of them had distinguished military careers, two of them won the Bronze Star. All of them have had successful marriages. Most of them have passed their 50th anniversary. They're men of character. I feel they're heroes too, and they're honorable men, and they give him all the credit that they all said one thing to me, so I put it in the book, that he used football to teach them life's lessons, and the main ones were how to win, how to lose, how to be a man.
And in fact, there's a very famous, or should we say infamous, football game that plays a role in here, is there not?
Oh my, yes, there is. And I heard that in excruciating detail from all of the men who played in it. And I'm a football fan, an OU fan, by the way. And it was painful to hear, painful to write, and painful when it, and they all read it, and after it came out, a few of them got teary-eyed over it.
Well, now you recreated dialogue. In fact, you mentioned in your foreword that, but you went back to check and confirm via your sources as much as possible that the dialogue was accurate. So you gave not really a fictional account of this, but you used some of the techniques of writing fiction.
Absolutely.
To do this.
This is my second book that I've done that with, and the thing of it was I did about 50 or 60 pages of straight nonfiction. It was just boring. And so they were so consistent in their stories, in the conversations with him and Miss Hagerstrand about her father, that I wrote it like it was told to me, and with all of the humor and the pathos and the sadness. And I think that's what made it, or at least I feel that's what makes it a better book.
Well, it's telling the story, which I think is the important thing.
I'm from Oklahoma, after all. We tell stories.
Absolutely. Are you working on another book?
Not at the moment. During this last 10 years, on and off with this, I have written 2 novels, of which I've done nothing about because working on this for so long. So now I'm going to try to get those published and wait for another hero story to drop in my lap like this one did. Now,
you're going to be somewhere tomorrow for a book signing, you and Marcia Preston as well, are you not?
Yes, my good friend and fellow author Marcia Preston and I are having a book signing at Barnes & Noble on Memorial Drive at May on Sunday from 2 to 4, and it's near the Quail Springs Mall. Near it. Yes.
Right, close by. So people should feel free to drop by and say hi.
Absolutely. I'd love to meet the people and American Indians and the ones who are interested in this kind of story.
Okay. Thank you very much for being with us today.
Well, thank you so much.
Patti Dickinson has been here talking about Coach Tommy Thompson and the Boys of Sequoia. You can find it in your library, your favorite bookstore.